Today I'm going to show you how to make a turtle on a loom. You're going to need a 24 peg, a 12 peg, and 24 stitch markers. So we're going to start with the shell. So you start with your slip knot, wrap your yarn around your 2 fingers, push it through, and then attach it to your anchor peg. And we're going to do the drawstring cast on. So you go behind your first peg, in front of the second peg, behind and in front of, all the way around like that. It's going to be every other peg. When you get to the first peg, you go behind it again, so there's going to be nothing on that first peg. In front of the second peg. And where there's 2 loops now on the second peg, you're going to knit off, lay it across the third peg, in front of the fourth peg again, and knit off. And you're going to notice that it's going to be every other peg that you're going to knit off. And when you get to the beginning again, there's going to be nothing on that first peg, so you're just going to lay it across the first peg and knit over on the second peg. So you're starting row 1 now. And what you're going to do is knit rows 1 to 15, just U-wrap knit. So you're going to half wrap the peg, knit over, half wrap the peg, knit over, all the way around for 15 rows. Once you get your 15 rows done, we're going to mark every peg with a stitch marker. Okay, so I marked my first one in a different color, and then every 4th peg I have in blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to help you when you bring your stitch markers back up. So what we're going to do is pop every one of those off. So you're going to wrap your peg, pop it off, half wrap your peg, pop it off. And this is the first of 15 rows. So that was the first one. And now you're going to start knitting, same as before. Half wrap your peg, knit off, half wrap your peg, knit off, for 14 more rows. Once you have those 15 rows done, we're going to bring the stitch markers back up. So find your first one, which was green for me, pop that one on. And what's going to happen if you try to do them all one at a time is it's going to get really, really difficult. So that's why we do this. So you've got 1 here, 2, 3, 4 is this blue one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be the last one. Okay, and now you can pop the rest of them back on. and you won't have any troubles. They'll just pop right out. Once you have all your stitch markers off, you're going to knit over all of these loops. There should be 2 loops on every single peg. So you can do them one at a time, which is safer. Or if you want to do it a little quicker, you can also scoop up both of them at once. So next, you're going to cut this shell color and tie on your body color. So you're going to make a slip knot, put that onto the first peg, tie these 2 tails together nice and tight, hold on to the 2 tails, pop the slip knot off, and pull it out. Now you're ready to knit with this color. So what you're going to do is mark 2 pegs with stitch markers. Pop those over, that's the first row. And then knit 12 more rows. So here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Then bring those peg stitch markers back up onto the pegs. Pop them off. Cut that color again. Now tie on your belly color. Again, make a slip knot. Now you're going to pop it onto the very next peg. Tie these 2 tails together. Ignore the cat. Pop the slip knot off. And now you are going to finish this row in the belly color. When you get back here, there's going to be 2 loops on just these 2 pegs. You're going to knit those over as one, and then just continue knitting. Remember, this is row 18 now, and you're going to knit up to row 27. Okay, once you have those 10 rows done, we're going to do the drawstring cast off. So you're going to wrap your loom once, cut the yarn, push your stitches down a bit, just about halfway, and then you wrap knit and pull through. So you're going to half wrap your peg, knit over, and pull through all the way around. Okay, now it's not going to look like much, but we're going to stretch the stitches. So just grab each side and pull. Make your way around. I like to do it twice just to make sure that they're all good. Now find your cast on tail, which is going to be the shell color, and pull that. Make sure it's nice and tight and there's no hole. Okay, I'm gonna send that through the other side and turn this whole thing inside out. Well, just a little bit. Now you're going to make sure that you get over the closed hole. So go from one side of it to the other. And then just pull tight. Now go through again. And then wrap your needle twice in through that loop and then pull tight. And you don't have to cut this, whoops, cast on tail. You can just stuff it inside. And now pull the cast off tail and just a little bit, and we're gonna stuff him. Should be enough. Make sure you pull that nice and tight. And we're going to do the same thing again. Thread your needle. Find that tightened hole. Gross. Knit through, sew through once, and on the second time, peanut, you're gonna wrap your needle through that loop twice and then pull tight. Now you can take this and send it through. And now you have the shell. I'll find that one little body color scallop stitch that you did and tug on that. That's going to be the tail. Next is the head. And we're going to do that on the 12 peg. Peanut. So you're going to make your slip knot. Attach it to your anchor peg of the 12 peg loom. And do another drawstring cast on. So behind the first peg, in front of the second peg, behind the third peg, in front of the fourth peg. When you get to the first peg again, go behind it, in front of the second peg, knit over that loop. In front of the next peg, just lay it over, knit over that loop, and continue on knitting over every other peg. There's going to be nothing on that first peg, so just lay it over. This is row 1. And for the head, we're going to do 13 rows. So you're just going to half wrap, knit over, half wrap, knit over for 13 rows. Once you got your 13 rows done, we're going to do the drawstring cast off again. So wrap your loom twice to leave a nice long tail, because we're going to use this tail to sew it to the body. Push your stitches down. Half wrap your peg, knit off, and pull through. Half wrap your peg, knit off, and pull through. Okay, stretch your stitches. Pull the cast on tail. And we're going to add the eyes. I've got 8mm eyes here. So I'm just going to put one on each side. Make sure they're lined up. And then put the safety backs on. Leave the cast on tail inside the head, and now we're going to stuff it. A little more. Back up. Okay, and you can send that through. Oh no, I cut the tail! That's okay. We can just use another piece. Okay, we can still use this tail. I'm gonna use pins. Peanut, don't. To pin the head in place. Now catch a stitch or two of the shell and a stitch or two of the head. Now you're just going to tie these two ends together. We'll worry about that tail after. And now you can just continue sewing. Okay, once you're finished sewing the head on, you can go ahead and tie these together again just to make sure that neither end is going anywhere. Now we're just going to send both of them into the project. Okay. Okay, now he's got a head and a tail. Next is the fins. Still on this 12 peg loom. So for the front fins, we're going to do the drawstring cast on again, and then knit for 8 rows, and then do your drawstring cast off. For your back fins, we're going to do the drawstring cast on, knit for 5 rows, and then do your drawstring cast off. And I'll meet you back here. Remember, when you're doing your drawstring cast off for all of the fins, to wrap your loom twice for a nice long tail, because we're going to be using that tail to sew it to the body and also to sew it closed. So here I have one of the front fins, that's 8 rows. We're going to stretch your stitches, pull the cast on tail, now you're going to stuff that cast on tail inside, and without pulling the cast off tail, just fold it in half. Now we're going to sew this closed. Now we've got a fin shape. Make sure that when you add it to the body, the flat part is pointing towards the tail. So we're going to sew it just to the white part. And we're just going to do a few stitches. About a third of the way down, maybe half. Here's one. Okay, I have the back fin now, which is the 5 rows. We're just going to tie this off. And then the same as the front fin, stuff the cast on tail inside. Just gives it a little more thickness. And then thread the cast off tail. And we're just gonna sew it up. And again, make sure the flat part is pointing down towards the tail. And we're just going to do a few stitches here. That's one foot. And here we have the finished turtle with all 4 fins, tail, thanks for watching.